Hello everybody and welcome to Gibraltar International Airport. I'm Michael with Ministry of Flight and today I'm bringing you a trip report flying with easyJet from Gibraltar to Edinburgh. This route is a direct flight from Gibraltar to Edinburgh. This is a relatively new route for Gibraltar as it just started in June of 2021. And for part of that time, this route wasn't in operation. So look at as the plane comes in and lands, it experiences a little bit of turbulence. It's pretty cool and amazing how awesome that these pilots are when they come in to land at Gibraltar. So once the plane lands and pulls up to the terminal, we've got about an hour of turnaround time before we're back up in the air headed towards Scotland. I found a great deal on this flight, and for only £70, I was able to book a round-trip ticket with easyJet from Gibraltar International Airport to Edinburgh. Here's the entrance to Gibraltar Airport. It's a relatively small airport, and it's very easily accessible. Once inside, the terminal is very small. It's easy to get around. There's a shop, a cafe, and these are the check-in desks. Once you go through passport control, you head on up. What's really cool about this airport is it sits right on the border with Spain. Those buildings over there in the distance are actually part of Spain. After passing through security, it's a very short walk to the gates. It was a pretty short wait before we were called to start boarding. You head down the escalators and right outside to take in the views of this A320 parked with the beautiful Rock of Gibraltar as its background. One of my favorite parts about departing from Gibraltar is walking out to the airplane and getting awesome views of the Rock. The grounds crew here at Gibraltar do a great job ensuring the safety of everyone that's walking out to the tarmac. Today I'm flying on the A320neo. The equipment registration for this plane is G-UZHU. I've actually filmed this same exact aircraft departing from Gibraltar in September of 2022. This A320neo has a seating capacity of 186 passengers, 2 pilots, and 4 cabin crew, with a cruising speed of 520 miles per hour. I signed up for the easyJet Plus membership, which allows me to select my seat and bring a large carry-on bag. I chose seat 10A, the window seat. The seats are pretty standard. There's nothing really special about them. I'm not very tall, so my knees didn't touch the seat, so I had plenty of room. And the best part was I had nobody sitting next to me or across the aisle, so I basically had the entire row to myself. So now we start with pushback. The main thing to take a look at and notice here is that there are people walking across the runway. Now you'll notice that there's some cars that will be passing by and driving on the runway right where this plane just landed less than an hour ago and right where we're going to be departing. That's one of my favorite things about Gibraltar Airport, and flying in and out of here is seeing these cars and people and bikes crossing over the runway where these commercial jets land and depart on a daily basis.
Air supply fails, masks will drop from above. Pull a mask towards you to start the oxygen. Put the mask.
Being sure to check the weather forecast the night before and the morning of, I was able to sit on this side of the plane to get cool views of the Rock of Gibraltar. The winds at Gibraltar can be quite shifty and change often due to the Strait of Gibraltar. So if you're looking to get a good view of the Rock as you're departing or landing, make sure to check the weather conditions. So the morning of my flight before check-in, I went on easyjet.com and picked out my seat, knowing which direction the wind would be coming so that I would get awesome views of the Rock of Gibraltar as we were taxiing out to the runway. I also chose this seat because I knew I would be facing the Spain side to look out over Spain as we were departing. Moments ago, we just saw those cars and people crossing over the runway right where this plane is crossing at this very moment. Be sure to check out the documentary I made called Road on Runway, where I explain more about the road that crosses over this active airport runway. Here you can see the cars, trucks, and people waiting behind the barriers for the plane to depart. There's a gas station next to the runway, as well as some football fields, a marina, and some apartments, and it's not unusual to see a sailboat passing right in front of the plane as it gets ready for departure. Now, Gibraltar Airport runway is just under 1,800 meters, and this section of the runway actually sits out in the Bay of Gibraltar. As soon as the plane turns around, the pilot engages the engines and we're off. And literally just across the water, that is Spain. So the border is actually in the water, and the land that you see across the water is the Spanish town of La Linea. Now we just crossed over the road and the pilot has rotated the plane and we're up in the air. You can see the Gibraltar Airport terminal there, and directly behind it is the Spanish city of La Linea. The townscape you see here is called La Linea, which in English means the line because it forms its border with Gibraltar. This is another factor that adds to the danger of landing and departing at Gibraltar Airport. Directly to the north of the airport is restricted Spanish airspace. One thing to take note of here is that La Linea is surrounded by lots of sandy beaches. Shortly after departure, drink and food service begin. Being a budget carrier, easyJet doesn't provide any free snacks or drinks, so if you want to, you either have to bring your own or purchase on the flight. I opted to purchase a couple vouchers prior to check-in. Each of those vouchers is worth £10, but you receive a 20% discount, so I paid £8 for one voucher. The plane has all the standard snacks and beverages and some hot sandwiches as well. I usually always make my own sandwich at home prior to going to the airport, so that's what I did, and I just used my vouchers to buy some beverages. There's plenty of drink options, plenty of beer options, plenty of non-alcoholic beverage options as well. What caught my eye was this espresso martini. So that was one of the beverages I decided on, and then I also thought that this IPA looked good because it is brewed in Scotland, so I always like to try the local brew when visiting a different country or a different area. So I of course tried the espresso martini, which was really good, but this orange drink, I didn't care for it at all. It wasn't that great. The flight attendants went above and beyond, and they were super awesome on this flight, and they ended up hooking me up, so that was even a better thing. I got these gummy bears and some shortbread. So overall, that was a pretty awesome thing, and I really appreciate it. But the flight attendants were super cool, really engaging. I could tell they all were just enjoying their flight. And so often you can get on a plane, the flight attendants just don't seem like they're very happy to be there or whatever. And I'm the type of guy that I enjoy good service. I just really appreciate it. And I'm also engaging. So when the flight attendants are also engaging and kind and just, really sweet, I really appreciate it. And on this flight they were. And now we're on to our descent in Edinburgh, and what was cool was checking out some of the other planes that were flying past us in the distance as they were descending into Edinburgh Airport. And luckily it wasn't too cloudy, so we were able to get some pretty good views of the city of Edinburgh. That big green space there is an ancient volcano, and it's called Arthur's Seat. It's about 800 feet high, and while I was in Scotland, I climbed up to the top of it. I really liked this view of the city coming in because my hotel was actually right over in this little neighborhood. And the ship that's docked right there is Her Majesty the Queen's royal yacht, Britannia. And it was cool to fly over and see the royal yacht, knowing that I was staying in a hotel that was really close to there. One thing for sure is it was great that we were coming in on a less cloudy day, which gave us an awesome opportunity to take in the beautiful views of the city of Edinburgh, as well as looking out over Arthur's Seat. And one of my favorite parts of flying into and landing at this airport was how green everything was, and the airport is actually set out of town and a little bit in the countryside. Overall, this was a great flight with easyJet. It was 3 hours from Gibraltar to Edinburgh. I definitely would highly recommend this trip to anybody who's in Gibraltar or around Campo de Gibraltar. If you're looking for a getaway to Scotland, this is a perfect flight to take, the 3-hour flight with the ease of the airport at Gibraltar, navigating through there, and then once again just landing here at Edinburgh. The ease of navigation here at this airport is really easy too. And in a moment here, we'll pull up to the gate and I'll show you quickly how easy it is walking around the airport in Edinburgh and getting outside.
Cabin crew disarm doors for arrival, please.
Overall, I thought this was a really good flight, and for the value that I paid for the ticket and the amount of time that it took between getting to Gibraltar Airport, flying to Edinburgh, and getting through this airport, it was well worth it. And I highly recommend this route, flying from Gibraltar to Edinburgh. Now that we have this direct route from our airport here at Gibraltar, it's really awesome to be able to get up into Scotland and enjoy the beautiful scenery and the amazing people in Scotland.
Hi.
Second floor passport control.
All right.
Looks like we get the elevator. I'm okay with that.
Oh, was it? This was far too heavy.
Once off the plane, of course, we have to walk to customs. However, I didn't want to climb up the stairs with my suitcase, so I went over to take the elevator. Navigating out of the Edinburgh airport was pretty simple and easy. There's only one route to follow to get over to baggage claim, and once you get through baggage claim, you exit, and there are buses and trains, taxis, and the rental car agencies just outside of the exit, and they have things very well labeled, and it's very easy to get around at the Edinburgh airport. I highly recommend this route and this flight with easyJet from Gibraltar to Edinburgh. The flight was simple and the airports are even simpler. Thanks so much for joining Ministry of Flight as we do a trip report on the flight with easyJet from Gibraltar International Airport to Edinburgh, Scotland.